when we applied, it was quite easy at that time. You just have to score a certain amount of points. And I was on dependent. My husband was the primary applicant. So he scored all the points of work, points, study points, age points, and all that stuff. And then I was add-ons because I did a level 9 course there. So he got another 10 points. Our marriage gave him 10 points. So it was pretty easy. But then after 2019, since when my brother-in-law applied, it took him a lot of time. They raised their bar of salary as well. They raised the bar of education as well. They raised quite a lot of other stuff.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Desi Written. Today, we have Priyanka on our show. Priyanka did her physiotherapy here in India and went to New Zealand for further studies, spent close to 6.5 years before deciding to move back to India. She has been living here for almost close to 3 years after the return back to India. And looking forward to our discussion with Priyanka. Thank you very much, Priyanka, for coming to our show. Welcome.
Thank you for having me, Avinash. As you have said, so deciding course for me was a difficult task itself because I finished my graduation in physiotherapy and I always wanted to get a master's done. But at that time, India was offering masters of 3 years, and it was quite a long time for me to spend again after doing 5 years degree in physiotherapy. So I went for GRE first. US was my first option, obviously, but then life happened and I met my husband and we got married and he had some different plans because he was in Australia before we got married. And he was not a huge fan of going to Australia, US and other countries at that time. So we chose NZ because my brother-in-law was also applying for same like a similar city in NZ. So you're like, okay, if he is trying, then I can also give a try to NZ. And it was not a big hustle at that time for New Zealand. A lot of people were not going to New Zealand at that time. So I'm talking about 2014. People were still quite crazy about GRE, GMAT, and all that stuff, and going to USA and UK and all. So New Zealand was a hidden country at that time. It was a good spot for me to get enter into the country. The rules were not strict. The visas were quite easy. The core lines and other stuff were a bit lenient as compared to what they have become now. So it was though a very difficult process, but not as compared to what it has become now. So I cleared my IELTS and then they asked me to provide all the documentation as they usually do for every Indian student, every overseas student. Then come to the topic of how to select the course. So I was sure that I want to be in a city which is quite like populated because obviously New Zealand, if you see in a map, you will hardly miss that country. It's the smallest on the map if you see. But and I had no idea. I like absolutely no idea what New Zealand is, what people are, how people are there, and what type of country and what vibe it is. But there was an instinct that yes, let's go for it. Why not give it a try? And my husband, obviously, he was the biggest supporter of all this thing. He chose the course for me. He did all the paperwork because he's always done already had done that for Australia for himself. So he did all the like the admin side of it, and I was just like, okay, fine, I'm going and happy, and I'm gonna do my masters, and until the reality hits the face, I was in that phase. Luckily, I got a very good course. First, it was not a very clinical course, so I got admitted into that one because of some reasons the admission was like kind of secure. I got a confirmation letter. But then meanwhile, while like packing the bags, and it's just like a week ago before I finally take a flight, I was still not sure that if this course is right for me. And then I started sending emails to the university. And I learned through this process that don't depend totally upon, those offices here. I don't know what you call them, but there are people, the consultancies, right? That's the correct word. The consultancies don't depend upon the consultancies because they do not know exactly what you're looking for. They will just give you a format of how to shift you from here to the another country. They don't know your background. They don't know the details about your course, the details about your education. So you have to be sure what your requisites are, what you're looking forward towards the course. So that's one lesson I learned when I took this decision of moving abroad. So And I love to share this experience with every beginners, like right from 10th standard or 12th standard when people ask me that we are planning to shift. So I think they should have a very clear mindset about what they exactly are looking for in their future, like 4 years, 5 years, 10 years from the studies, because it's always not just holding a degree and not doing anything with it. It's of no use.
Yeah.
So choose your course very wisely. Make sure what are the job applications and the job kind of perspectives come out of after doing the studies. So I did it in rehabilitation. It was quite a very good field, very good opportunity for physiotherapists and anybody coming from a fitness background, healthcare background. So I chose that topic. Unfortunately, for Indian physiotherapists, I don't know about much about other countries, and because I'm not sure, so I would not even comment on that. But for New Zealand, it is a very strict protocol that they do not allow you to touch a patient if you do not have a license.
Okay.
So one part of my course had a subject where I had to treat a patient. Like I will be like in personal touch with the patient. So for that I had to apply for another registration just to study, like on top of my loan, on top of my tuition fees, on top of every expenditure that I've spent, I have to apply for a license just to study that paper. And that also costed me like quite good amount, and that was only for 3 months, three
Okay.
months till I complete that subject. And that subject included a practice under supervision, so I was not even working unsupervised or all on my own. So I found that a little like too much. And then after you finish your studies, and also one more important thing, make sure if you're going for masters, your should have a component of practical or like a clinical setup. So if you're coming from a healthcare background, choose a subject, choose a course where you have at least 6 months of internship, so that you, when you come out of the university, you have a patient experience, you have an interaction experience, and you have worked unsupervised, or you have taken a leadership of your work. So that is really important while choosing a course.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for me, it was not available. This was the only level of course that I can get into. Another thing, there was a bridge course in New Zealand, in Auckland University, where they used to take overseas student for 2 years, and then it was kind of masters, but it had a practical component to it. So 6 months of compulsory internship in their hospital was given. So unfortunately, that also stopped when the year when I went to NZ. So I don't know why God was shutting all the doors for me at that time, but I was fearless and I was like, I want to go it, I want to do it. So I finished my master's in 1.5 years, and then you get a student visa, which is like for another year, so that you get a time to have a find a job and
Yeah.
settle down and all that stuff. So after finishing studies were not that like very difficult for me, because after completing your graduation and such high level of pressurized work in India, that too in government hospitals, you are quite used to of handling pressure and taking care of like all the other things. So studies were not a big deal for me. English was not a big task for me as well. Making friends were not a big task, and joining communities and talking to the the mentors and stuff, it was good. People are so sweet there. Like I just love the way Kiwis are. We call them Kiwis there. Kiwi is the national bird and national fruit, so we call them Kiwis. They are very like, I wouldn't say like racist, or they will be like no line of any hesitation of coming and talking to you. They will always be very welcoming, very warming. They will always guide you the right way. And that was really good for me, a very good start for me. And I
Yeah.
made quite good friends in the first semester itself, and we still are friends. Like there are few people we still are friends with. Then after finishing, obviously when you do your studies, you're not thinking too much about your job, because I was not, because I was fortunately blessed to have like a good financial background. So I was not burdened to go and earn as well, because I was full-time student. I would hardly get any time as well. So my husband was supporting me at that time. Yeah, so me and my husband went together. I forgot to tell you the first very important thing. So I went to a student visa. He went on a visitor visa. And then
So
he
maybe
got a
just a question there, maybe if it's okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
so I know you mentioned that you married your husband. Was
Yes.
he staying or working in Australia at the time, and then
He
yeah, changed his plans to
just 6 months or a year, 6 to 8 months before our marriage, he moved to India.
okay.
And then he didn't have any plan to go back. He was like, okay, I'm done with India. He has done his like double masters and MBA and all that stuff in Aussie. And he was working quite well there. But he was like, no, I don't think I can do this for long. So he moved to India, but he found like we found each other. And then I had some other plans. And he was like, okay, fine, let's do it. So he
Sure.
joined me. So
Okay.
he helped me to get that. And yeah, he went through a visitor visa. Then in 3 months, he converted into a work visa.
Sure.
Quite luckily, his journey was way smoother and way easier and way luckier than me. And he is into sales and account holder kind of position. At that time, he was.
Yeah.
So he was quite good with getting jobs and opportunities and like because of
Yeah.
the experience that he had from Australia. So it was good on me that I was a bit relieved, like not worrying too much about finances and stuff. He was supporting me through the finance way. So after finishing graduation, 1 year went into job search. So always waiting for a good job. You know, when we Indians like I don't know much about others, but we always have that hesitation. ये काम हम नहीं करेंगे. We won't go to that level. We won't do this thing. And then it's not always good. Like you have to bend down. You have to go mellow down. You have to learn to adapt and do stuff. So first month went in this only that I may not or may not. And then afterwards I was like, nee, I have to do something. It's done. It's too much now. I can't ask for money from my husband and from my parents or anybody. I have to do something for myself. And then I started looking for jobs, and I started looking for jobs other than my fraternity. And yeah, luckily got few jobs, some temporary, some contracts, and some part times, which used to give me a good money to sustain for like some time. My actual break happened after I finished my student visa. And I was like, okay, let's go back. I'm not getting anything. I don't think I'll be able to sustain here. And anyways, I never wanted to do job. And my husband was like, what? You never wanted to do job. Then why did you come here? Why did you do all this hard work? And I'm like, I am not feeling right. I'm just thinking, why is I'm getting rejection from everywhere? The biggest problem was I didn't have registration at that time because registration itself, like, so this topic I also want to go in details with you. If anybody watching this video is a physiotherapist or a healthcare person who's looking forward to have their life ahead in abroad, license and registration is a big deal. It's a very, very big deal. Firstly, they do not accept anything that comes from India. They will not accept your qualification, even if you have done in the best universities in India. They will always find out flaws or like things which do not match to what they're doing. And acceptable. Every country, every organization, every system has their own formats to follow. But they're quite strict, like very strict. If you compare it with Australia, if you compare it with Canada, if you compare it with US or UK, Singapore, Dubai, you compare it with any other countries, because I was searching through other countries as well that why is only NZ so rigid? Why is not like other countries? They have like a proper protocol. You give an exam, you go for an interview, you crack it, and you
Yeah.
get an answer. Here, the thing was from my student visa, half of my student visa till another 6 months, for a one full year, I was collecting papers. Like I was just grabbing all the papers, the documentations, because I have to fulfill competencies. So they have like 7 competencies to fulfill. Along with that, you have to give huge amount of record where they show you have done unsupervised work, you have tackled other situations like cultural differences, racial differences, gender differences. You have managed all these cases. So you have to fulfill all the competencies before they ask you to come for an interview or exam and all that stuff. For in that process itself, it took me around 7 to 8 months because I had to start right from my graduation. So I have to take my syllabus. I have to get it authorized from the university. So you know how it works when you are abroad and you're sending emails to Indian universities. Most of the time they won't see it, and then you have to send people over to the university to get it done. So it was a very long and lengthy procedure for me. And I had no support from anyone. Like I searched Facebook, I searched social media, I searched everywhere. No Indian student has gone through a registration, a physiotherapy registration. I don't know why Indian physiotherapists are firstly not going for registration, because we are no less than any other country's education, because our education system is really good when, especially when it comes to healthcare.
Yeah.
I was alone in my journey, but I was determined that I have to do it. Somebody has to crack it. If not me, then someone else will do it. So I kept on moving ahead. I kept on gathering paperwork. I kept on asking them a lot of questions. My emails used to be like full page, that please give me answers about all this thing. I want to do it. And somehow I gathered everything. I submitted it. In the first attempt, they said less information provided. I provided some more information. And then second one again, okay, we will ask you to sit for an exam. So I sat for an exam. In the exam, again, I don't know, but it was just an unlucky day for me, and another like a door closing on me, that I didn't clear the exam. I wouldn't blame anybody or anything, but it was just not the right thing for me. And then same procedure, I started sharing it with people, and then people started to get registered. So after me, I have seen like at least 3 or 4 Indian physiotherapists, all women, getting registered. Some are in Australia, some are still in New Zealand, and they are following the same procedure. Maybe it was just not a right
Right.
path for me, or maybe God had some different plans for me at that time. I was really, really, really disheartened at that time, and again I was like, let's go back to India. Not happening. I'm not. And then my husband again pushed me like, okay, no, we have to repay the loan. We have to earn. You take some rest, you take some time, but you have to find a job. You have to find a earning, and we'll have to stay here for another few years till we have a capital, so that we can go back and start something back in India, or we at least can give back to what we have already spent.
Yeah.
And then again a search for a job, and searching and searching. And then at that time we didn't have a residency, we didn't have quite a good social group, we were living in a sharing house, and it was a down phase for me. And then really reality hit on my face, kind of thing. And I was like, this is really difficult. And one fine day I was just sitting, it might sound very filmy, but I was just sitting at the bus stop, and then a friend passed by, and she was like, there's a company who's looking for a physiotherapist, and they're quite interested in hiring Indians, because I don't know what, for some reason she said that. And I was like, okay, fine. I just heard it for just like, yeah, she's saying something. I wouldn't pay any attention. But then I literally went and called the person who was like hiring there.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then I got a call from that company. So, and directly an interview scheduled. A very fancy company, a very nice company, and it has like 8 branches all over Auckland, quite a renowned one. And then I set for an interview, and luckily, Avinash, all the interviews that I went, I was always on a positive note. People liked me. People liked my profile. People were like, okay, we will hire you. But something or the other was pulling it down. So this one, I don't know what he liked in me, my confidence or maybe something, but then he just hired me. He was like, I don't care if you're registered or not registered, but I see potential in you, and I think you should join the company. At that time, I was not able to work as an unsupervised physiotherapist because of no license. But he said, I have another plan for you. So this company is a Pilates and a physiotherapy company. So they teach you Pilates for 6 months. It's a master teacher training program. They teach you, and then they hire you to work for them. So it's a contract for 18 months. You have to work for them. They will either give you a contract job or an hourly job or a weekly or a yearly one. Depends person to person. Luckily, that worked for me. Again, Pilates completely new for me. I had been a yoga person. I have never done Pilates in my life. Again, life was throwing some other things on me. I was like, let's do it. Okay, fine. तो कुछ भी नहीं आ रहा है तो कुछ तो सही से I started. And the training was good. People were, again, I would say, I was blessed with the best bosses. Both the husband and wife were running the company, and they were gem of a person. They are lovely, super lovely, and they they took care of everything. They helped me in applying. So I applied another time. So I did two attempts for my physiotherapy registration. So they again helped me for 6 months to get back to my registration and see if I can try my luck again for the next time with some more clinical hands supervised experiences. So I used to observe physiotherapists there, and I used to do my studies and all that stuff again. So that didn't work as well because they kept hanging on you saying that your syllabus is not similar to what we teach here, and the master's course you did do not have any theoretical do not have any practical component to it. So they will keep holding you back. They will not allow you to get into this thing. So that thing didn't work. But luckily Pilates helped me. Then I became a Pilates instructor and started my journey as a trainer. So for 1.5 to 2 years I trained, and then I was quite interested in the management there. I was like, wow, these people function really well. Like, itna properly, they have everything noted down, the format, the way they hire students, the way they run the company, the way they tackle the clingy clients, and everything out there was really, it was giving me quite a good of interest to get into it. So after 2 years, I started going for courses which are like short-term courses for administration and management. So like, let's try how does this work. Um, and I did like 6 months of certificate and 1 year of diploma. I did two courses in management, administration management in healthcare, because my next goal was from going from private to a government hospital of New Zealand. Because infrastructure wise, everything wise, the hospitals are absolutely amazing. They function so smoothly, so well, that I was like, wow, I want to do it. And if I'm not learning these things before I leave, and then I will be missing a big opportunity. So I started doing management thing, and luckily in the same company the position got available. So I asked my manager, do you think if I should apply for this? And he was quite already impressed with the first half only, so it's like, yeah, why not give it a try? And then I fortunately got that job also. So I was managing a studio. So managing a studio with of 8 physiotherapists, 4 instructors, and quite a big clinic. Then I did 3 years of management, administration and management in the same company. So I worked full 5 years in the same company, 4.5 to 5 years in the same company till I left New Zealand. That was all about my education, my job, and my registration thing. So another thing, again, I'm emphasizing this thing. Whosoever is watching this podcast, if you're a healthcare, if you're a physiotherapist, make sure you do your licensing properly, because I have really spent nights and days crying for this thing, and it didn't happen to me for a very like a clueless like reason, unjustified reason. Australia, UK, Canada, US, very straightforward process to go. But New Zealand is not. They will always hold you back for some or the other reasons. Coming to the job again, with respect to salaries and how much they pay you, how you grow. So obviously the basic salary there is $19 an hour. It's the time when I joined
Yeah.
in 2017. It has definitely gone to 21, 22 now. 19 at that time. So I started around 20.5 or something, 21. So that's how I started. Until I got to the end, I was at $30, like $30.1 or 31. So $10 increase around like 4.5 years. Because it was a healthcare, you get a quite good like rise and good reviews. But if you are from other background, it will depend. Employment wise, New Zealand is still very difficult. You don't get jobs there easily, especially if you're coming from a healthcare background. IT, yes, 100% yes. My husband and my brother-in-law, they are from IT background, and they had very good opportunities. They were earning quite good, like double or triple to me what I was earning in the beginning, right from their start itself.
Yeah.
So yes, if you're from IT background, if you're from management background, definitely New Zealand is very welcoming in that sense. They also give you jobs from work from home opportunities. So my brother-in-law has recently shifted back to India, and he is still working for an NZ company. So yes, they're quite good in giving you work from opportunities as well as good pay as well to IT people and to management like MBAs and all. Healthcare wise, not a good recommended country to go.
Okay.
Have I missed anything? No, up till now, I don't think professionally I've missed anything. So the
Okay.
second part will be the other one. Yeah, the
So that's
personal.
great. I know, thank you very much for sharing such a detailed journey in terms of the reasons why you went to New Zealand. Some of the challenges with the registration, the healthcare, which is unique, right? I think you see a lot of
Yeah,
people more on the engineering background or on a management background that went abroad, not
yeah,
really on the healthcare. Thanks for sharing those details. I think it's an important one on recognizing the work that you have done in India and the registration, so people have to be aware of it. So
yes,
I think, as you said, finally you were able to find your groove, and you were doing well, at the same company for almost 4.5 years. So what got changed? Things were going smoothly. Your husband was doing good, doing great. And so what got changed, and what brought you back to India?
hmm. So as we all know, pandemic has hit everyone, everywhere in the world. The first year of pandemic was really good for us, and we were like, we were working from home. We were subsidized paid. We were like 10% less paid, but we were still quite good. By that time, we have got a residency also. So in 2018, we got a residency. We got a big house. We got a good car and everything. Life was on the track, and pretty much we could say that we were looking for settlement as well. We were like, okay, fine, let's stay here for another like 10 years or so, and then we'll think when we have to go back. It
Yeah,
never Shifting back at that time was not a very like a to do thing for us at that time. But after the second wave, um, I conceived, and it was not a natural pregnancy. Obviously, I conceived and I had to abort it for some reason, and that um, whole situation was so difficult for us because that was the first time we had to knock the doors of the hospital in India. Luckily, we were healthy and fit for the first all these years, and we didn't have a chance to go to the hospital. But the moment we went to the hospital, it's so bad. It's so bad. Like, I don't know how to put it, but again, no complaints or no
yeah,
nothing bad against New Zealand. They have their own way of doing it. Every country has their own way. I had to abort a baby and they tell me we don't have a appointment. We don't have a doctor. And I was like, first of all, in the first 3 months, they didn't have a proper care on me. They didn't give me a proper midwife. Nobody guided me how to manage the pregnancy. I was continuously on call with my doctor in India. He was telling me something else. They were giving me something else. It was all a lot of miscommunication. And friends were saying something else. Those who had babies earlier, they were saying something else. And then there are suburbs where you have to go to only the hospital where you belong. So you can't go to other hospitals. You can't have another midwife from other suburbs and all that. So, and in that situation, in 3 months, I somehow lost the baby and I was asked to abort it. And then waiting list and the procedure and the way how it was done, everything shook me and my husband terribly. And we were like, this is not what we expected. Firstly, the pain itself is too much of losing a baby, and secondly, the way how it is handled is not right. Um, they have their way of doing it, and a couple of friends of mine have also gone through this, which I got to know after I had gone through it. Nobody talk about the bad. Nobody talk about the such situations, even though if they are in your contact and your friends, they will not discuss such things unless you also go through that. And I was surprised. I was really surprised. But Avinash, I was really lucky to have a very good friend circle at that time. The people who became friends became like a family to me at that
yeah.
time. And I recovered quite well, very well out of it. Like mentally, after that procedure, I was quite okay and I was settled. But that time, that thing hit my husband so hard that he was like, we are going back to India. We are not staying here for any long. We didn't plan to come back at that time. We didn't have any plan of what we're gonna do in India after we come back. Nothing was planned.
Yeah.
And in November this happened. December we took the flight.
Wow.
In 1 month, everything changed.
Yeah.
We we were clueless. We both were clueless, but we were crying inside out, and we were not sure about how we're gonna. You know, you pass that moment, but it lives with you for some time. So it was that kind of phase. And then parents were in corona stage, and they were all mentally not very well as well, because people were dying, the neighbors and everyone was getting sick, there was lockdown, and the mental state of our parents and relatives here was also not that great. And apart from that, along with that, we coming from this
Yeah.
mental like thing was a difficult task for all of us,
Yeah.
both the sides of the family, his side, my side as well.
Yeah.
So we decided to come with no plans. It's just like we are going back to meet our families. We might come back in 3 months again, 6 months, or maybe we not. I was not ready to come, to be really honest with you. I was like, no, I don't think this is a solution. Running back is not a solution. I was still a fighter. Despite of every unfortunate opportunities and every door closing on my face, I was still a fighter. I was like, no, I want to give it a try. I want to give my fullest till I think that, yes, I want to go back. Because, Avinash, coming from a conservative background, I'm the only doctor in my family. I would like to say that in my community, not even society, not even family, the whole community, I'm the only doctor who has done masters abroad, who has done studies after marriage, and who has gone abroad, studied and worked abroad. So I had a big, like, generation to lead. If I do quit, if I give up, every girl behind me will feel the same thing, that she lost and she had to come back to where she was. So it was always on my shoulders that I have to show people, that
Yeah.
show girls, the women of my community, that we can do it.
Yeah.
We can do everything. But life had plans for us, and then we had to shift. And it was fortunate, because when I came, my father got hit with corona, and he was severely unwell. Doctors gave us 1% chance. And for 17 days, I was with my family. I was the one who was going to the hospital visiting my dad, because I was the only one who was negative corona. Everybody in my family was positive. So I'm talking about my mother side of
Yes.
family.
Yeah.
Everybody was positive. So those 17 days, I served my family. I served my father. And those 6.5 years of, कि मैं मिल नहीं पाई. I missed my friend, my sister's wedding, my brother's wedding, and all that things. It felt like things are falling in a good spot. So God asked us to come here on the right time, so that I can be with them when they need me the most. Luckily, my father survived. Luckily, everything went all good. In 6 months, everything was sorted, and we started to plan our baby for the
Yeah.
next second time. And then, yeah, rest is history. So got pregnant, got blessed with twins. So I have a beautiful girl and boy twins now. And life is all over the place now. As you know, this has been 3 months pending. We have been planning this interview for 3 months, and now I am finally here talking to you. So this was all my journey. And yeah,
Congratulations. Like, oh, what a
thank you.
change. Like, I know, sorry. And, that you have to go through that emotional aspect of the reasons. So, really
Yeah,
appreciate being very open and being brave enough to talk about some of those details, right?
yeah.
So thank you very much. Um,
No worries,
in the-
Avinash.
yeah. So I know you kind of touched about the hospital. Maybe one thing that I couldn't connect is on one end, like, when you're studying, when you are learning, right? I heard,
Yeah,
I think you were very impressed with the management system, because I never been in New Zealand. So maybe
yes,
it's maybe naive question from my end. Uh,
yeah,
I felt on one end you are very impressed with the hospital's management system, the process,
yes,
and all that.
yes.
On the other hand, I hear,
I guess,
it's
yeah,
like the
yeah,
healthcare is not very streamlined, like
yes,
a lot of backlog. So maybe I don't know if it's like a public healthcare, and is that the
yes,
reason, irrespective of the systems in place, it's just that
yes,
they are not have enough capacity to handle the,
yes,
things that happens. So maybe you can put a little bit of a color for someone who was not in New Zealand, just
yes.
on that particular aspect.
Yes, I would. This was already on my list to talk about, like, why healthcare and why all this stuff. If you look management wise and all, it's really good. So if you see from the top, oh my God, everything is functioning so well. Unless you go in the dark, you go on the other side. So grass is always greener on the other side. So it's like that. So when I had experience, so this was when I said I want to do management and all. This was before I was planning for pregnancy.
Yeah.
Before I had a chance to get into the hospital and do anything. I was quite impressed. But when I went and done that. When unless you go through all this thing, you don't understand what actually the things are. First of all, you have to get appointed through a GP. You have to have a GP. Even if you're having a couple cold or any small thing, and then you go to any hospital, White Cross. First of all, for example, White Cross, you don't need a GP or anything. You can just straight away go. It's an emergency thing. Anybody can go there.
Okay.
Even if you go to White Cross and if you don't have a registered GP, they will not treat you. First thing, you have to go through your GP. If you don't have a GP registration, the specialist won't see you. And what the GPs do, they are basically Googling stuff, what are the health stuff and what is the medicine. So this is the experience which I personally had. No offense to NSAID, please, no offense to NSAID, but they are basically just Googling the symptoms and giving you medications from the Google. In India, if you have anything in the morning till the evening, you will have a diagnosis along with medication, blood test, everything done by the end of the day. There you have to wait for specialist appointment. The specialist appointment will cost you a grand, at least $500 to $1,000 anyways gone. So in one day, in one meeting of half an hour, you're spending quite a lot amount. And that does not even include medications. Medication charge others. So if you're resident, still you will be paying for specialist appointment because that doesn't include into resident benefits. But if you go through a government one, everything is free. But the only problem is you have to wait. The waiting list is quite long. Everything for everything you have to wait. My boss is a Kiwi. He was suffering from a hemorrhage. His experience, I would tell you, 3 months he was asked to wait. Why? Only because he didn't have a surgeon.
Wow.
3 months for a hemorrhage could take someone's life. That's ridiculous. Why and how can somebody do that? And this system is still working for years and years. This has still been working. This is how they work.
Yeah.
For them, the holistic approach, the naturopathy, and all this thing comes first. And then comes allopathy, and then comes hospitals and all that stuff. Also, people are so educated there. They're so experienced that it's not always that you have to go and ask someone what to do. In India, even if you are learned, for some reason you will ask, "Main kar lu na ye? Should I do it na?" Like we have that kind of hesitation. Yes. But there people are quite confident, they know what they're doing. So, Avinash, for them, it's quite good. It's normal for them. They are used to it. Their emotional capacities are also quite high to take all the stuff like that. They physically move fitter. The genetics, when the whole genes, everything is like quite easily adaptable to everything that they're doing. सालों से वो कंट्री वैसा ही चल रहा है. Like all these abroad countries, मैं आपके कितने पॉडकास्ट देख चुकी हूँ. Everybody said the same thing कि healthcare India is best. I understand every country has their pros and cons. हम वहाँ खुद जा रहे हैं, right? Nobody has asked us to come. We're going it by ourselves. अब इंडिया में अगर वो कल्चर चलने लगा तो इंडियंस भी भागेंगे ना. तो इट्स सेम जो हम बचपन से देखते आ रहे हैं, दैट बिकम्स आवर हैबिट एंड दैट बिकम्स आवर नॉर्मल. सो it didn't work for me, but it has worked for most of my friends. Most of my friends are still there. They also had life fatalities, like very severe illnesses as well, but they are still coping with it. It was just for us as a person that we lost ourselves emotionally, and mostly my husband on the other side. He wanted us to come back, and that's why we decided. I would not say any country is bad or good or for any good reason or good or bad reason, but it's just a format that you have to get into. So if you're going, go with a full, fresh, blank page that, okay, I'm a new person. I will function, I will work, I will think, I will do everything according to this.
Cool.
If you're keeping one leg in India, if you're keeping one leg in another country, you will always be lost. So this is what happened to me when I was in my transition phase. When I came back, until last year, you can say until earlier this year also, until January, I was still not sure if I want to live in India or not. We were still thinking, and I'm still thinking, I'm still not sure if I want to go back or not, because twins is a big responsibility. without any help, without cook, without nannies, it will be very difficult for me because obviously my husband will have to work full time. I'm more than a full time as well because we'll be feeding three people, four including him. So I cannot burden him for kids and household responsibilities. So it's everything on me, like 90% on 99% on me to take care of kids in the house. Am I capable? May not, but right now no, because handling two kids of like nearly 2 years
Yeah.
is too much. They are super active, but the extreme hot weather out here is not even allowing us to go out for play and all. But still, it's quite manageable with help at home,
Yeah.
and something or the other always keeps going on in India. So you're never busy, you're never bored.
Yeah. So thanks, Priyanka, for sharing that. Sounds like I think there is still something going on in your mind about staying in India, but I think currently the plan is to be in India, with the kids and so on. So just wondering, switching gears a little bit, I know uh, you want to be this role model for the generation, right? Of the, for the woman in the community and so on. You did well. I think, you did post-graduation, you became a Pilates trainer. You've been like, working in this company for 4.5 years. So how was your journey here in India? So are you planning or have you already started getting into that physiotherapy again, or being on the trainer side or on the management side? So just curious on that aspect.
Yeah. So I have definitely started my journey, Avinash. So it was first big thing for me to step out, and luckily last month I got the courage and I said that I would go to your podcast as well because of, there are a couple of ladies that I have heard on your podcast, and there was one with two kids, Manvi, and I found her journey quite inspiring. So I've been following her on Instagram, and there are such other people as well who are returning back to India with two kids and who have lived there and managed alone with two kids, but now back to India. So how they are getting back on track. And Instagram, oh my God, it's the best platform to learn, to inspire yourself, to motivate yourself. So yes, I have started my fitness journey because first of all, it goes in. If I'm not fit, I cannot be a fitness model or I cannot try to train others. So started it on myself first. This whole 2 to 3 months will be on myself. In the meantime, I have started getting contact with people who are already doing such Pilates and physiotherapy together, and have good experience and good platform for me as well to go and get back on track. But again, the problem will be I got studied in NZ. So now the problem is how they are going to get me into their way of teaching and their way of working. But I am very sure it's not going to be as difficult as it was in NZ. Firstly, because no foreign skill and no language barrier. So it will be very easy for me. And so I'm getting quite good responses with the opportunity as well, which I've applied. So I'm really looking forward for the second half of this transition.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's
let's see
great.
what God has gotten.
Yeah, cool. Just wondering about the place where you moved to. So are you have you relocated to the place where your family is, like, or your husband's family, or did you go to some other place in India? Just curious on that.
So the initial 6 months I was at my parents' place. Then 1.5, nearly 2 years, I was in Nagpur for pregnancy. And then I'm back to Thane, where my in-laws used to live. But right now it's just me and my husband and kids here. My in-laws have shifted back to my their native place, so it's just us now. Because it's good for kids as well, because they will be starting their preschool now. So once they go to preschool, I'll have like 2 to 4 hours in hand where I can go and do something for myself. So that's in the pipeline. Let's see. And my
Okay,
husband is working on his own business, so he's into property and land business. So
nice.
he's quite good. I don't know how, but lucky dude he has been since like forever. In NZ also and here also, it didn't take him long time to shift back to what he wanted to do. So he started right in the first 3 months itself,
Wow.
and it's going quite well, luckily. Yeah.
Nice, very nice. Cool. Is there anything that we haven't covered that you wanted to mention to the audience today, or any advice for the future
Uh,
aspirants who are thinking about moving back to India?
no. Yeah, but I didn't mention about the visa and sorry, the residency thing onto it. Yeah. that is one thing. And getting job, I've already said. Work and all, I've already said. Okay, so residency. We haven't talked about residency. So how it is in NZ and how the taxation also. We haven't talked about taxation. So first come to residency. So when we applied, it was quite easy at that time. You just have to score a certain amount of points. And I was on dependent. My husband was the primary applicant. So he scored all the points of work, points, study points, age points, and all that stuff. And then I was add-ons because I've did a level 9 course there. So he got another 10 points. Our marriage gave him 10 points. So it was pretty easy. But then after 2019, since when my brother-in-law applied, it took him a lot of time. They raised their bar of salary as well. They raised the bar of education as well. They raised quite a lot of other stuff. Because of that, a lot of my other friends who were still in the process of applying, they were would hold for like 6 months or a year. So they have a EOI system. So they do a lucky draw, and then at that time only your EOI gets selected if you're selected in that lucky draw. And then you go through a process, and then all the paperwork is done and the visas are done. So you first get a residency for 2 years. You get a permanent residency for 2 years. You have to spend at least 180 days in both the year, and then you get a residency, and which is unconditioned. So you can come and go anytime. There are no conditions applied to it, and it's not necessary for you to stay there. But if you stay for 4 years after that residency, 2 more years. If I would have stayed there for 2 more years after my residency, I would be able to apply for my citizenship. Unfortunately, the year where I would have been auctioned for citizenship, I had to come back. And if you don't go within 4 months, that year is not counted. So you cannot leave the country for more than 4 months. You have to be there back again within 4 months. So that's the thing. And after you become a citizen, you're pretty much like people there, the residents there. You get all the health benefits, the voting benefit, and other stuff. So that's first thing. So residency wise, it's quite pretty straightforward process. Unlike what happened with me for my registration and other stuff. Driving license is also not that bad. Driving sense, people out there are quite good. There's a theory and there's a practical exam that you have to go through, and you can get your license as well. What else? Residency is good. That's
taxation.
Coming to the taxation. So there are different categories of salary ranges where you have to pay taxes. Starts from 10.75% or something, and then 12%, 35%, 33%, and then 35%. The highest is 35% taxation. So obviously, if you go beyond like 85 to 95, you're into that 33% category. But the good thing there is you have a key saver thing there. So certain amount from your salary is always deducted, and then you get certain from the government, and then there's like $100 or $200 of bonuses add to your annual, or sometimes $500. I also used to get it depending upon how much I've earned in the whole year. So taxation wise, it's pretty same for all the other countries that we have heard in your podcast as well. So yeah, pretty much that on to my side.
Okay.
New Zealand is a good country though. Yeah, if you do get a chance to visit, I don't know if you have been there, but if you get a chance, do visit it. It's a beautiful country. People are very nice and sweet. But as they say, it's a retirement country. People don't see a very high earning sources, a very high vibe kind of life there as compared to Australia and other countries. But if you are a person who wants peace in life, who wants settlement, and who is more onto quieter side of life than a high achievement and ambitious person, you can definitely give a try to NZ.
Yeah, definitely. So thank you very much, Priyanka, for sharing a lot of insights and how things work in New Zealand, and taking us through the reasonings of the moving back to India, as well as life in India. So thanks again for coming on our show and sharing all your thoughts.
Thank you, Avinash. Thank you so much for having me. You have a good day and keep the work you're doing. It's really good to hear the stories and get inspired and think where you're going. It's helping you in direction as well. So thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. And good luck with your next phase of the life, which is coming up, and all the
So
best.
thank you. Thank you, Avinash. Thank
Thank you all for joining us on this insightful journey of Desi Return. If you enjoyed this episode and want to explore more stories and expert advice, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. Don't forget to leave a comment below with your thoughts and experiences. By the way, check out the links in the description below for our Facebook group and social media for updates and engaging discussions, as well as connecting with fellow Desi returners. Thank you once again, and until next time, may your Desi return journey be filled with joy, growth, and endless possibilities.